Alright, how's it going, NinBuzz? It's me, Elo, here, and as promised, and according to the comment section on my last video, I said if I got 75 thumbs I would go into some sort of a how to build a team tutorial. Now, I've never really done one of these before, and I get the feeling this is going to kind of come off like more of a team analysis versus how to build a team, because I'm just going to be doing this off of a team I already own, versus actually putting the thought process into making a new team, because I really don't have the time to do it with finals coming up and Christmas break's going to be rather busy for me. So I'm just going to do it on one I've already done before, since I do remember the thought process for it very clearly. And we'll just go from here, see what it ends up turning out like, I guess. And the other detail I want to go into is that I'm not really going to be telling you that this is the only way you have to build a team, like, oh, all other methods are wrong, or this is the only way to do it, you know. This is just the way I happen to make my team, and if you like the system I use, you can go ahead and use it. I'm not telling you to just dump everything you've ever learned and then just use this method. I think that should cover it, so we'll just go ahead and jump right into it right now. The audio jumps around a little bit. That's because I do a lot of audio cuts, because I do a lot of editing, so don't be alarmed. Anyways, let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, now, as is implied by the text on the screen, you're going to want to pick one or two Pokemon that you want to start off with. Since I'm using a theme team, just bear in mind that you don't have to make it themed. You can just pick something you want, and you're not really going to go through necessarily the same artistic confines that I went through. But for all intents of making this team, I wanted to start out with Shaymin, and I'll, you know, show the pictures of the respective characters that they went off of, just as background filler, I guess. And I went with Shaymin because I've never used one prior to this, and I really wanted to use one. So we'll just go ahead and jump into Shaymin's analysis right now. Alright, as you can see, they both have the same hair color and everything first off, so that's why I went with that. The actual gameplay standpoint of why I chose Shaymin is because I've never used one before, and it seems like with Seed Flare, Earth Power, and Hidden Power Ice, it gets decent coverage. You got Leech Seed there for the support. It's got a bit of natural bulk to it, and they're not that slow. They're actually pretty fast if you put some investment into them. Well, they're not super fast, but they do outspeed a decent amount of things. And speaking of outspeeding, we have the Sky Shaymin here, which I use in 5th gen. The moveset doesn't really change that much. It just loses a bit of its support, and it goes a little bit more on the offensive. Now, let's go ahead and go back to the team layout, just so we can talk about this just from a neutral standpoint once again. Okay, so now that you have your first base Pokemon picked out for this team, you're going to need to think about your type synergy. You know, what do you have trouble hitting with this Pokemon? What can you hit? What can you take hits from? And what do you have trouble taking hits from? So we'll think about the defensive synergy for a moment. Shaymin is weak to Fire, Ice, Poison, and Bug. Now, if you think about this, a Fire type would cover the Fire, Ice, and Bug weaknesses right off the bat, but if we add Fire Fighting, then it covers the Bug even better. So it's for this reason that we're going to add a Blaziken to the mix. I'll go ahead and explain why I chose Blaziken over Infernape as well in the next segment. Now, thinking about it from a series standpoint, there's not really much reason to pick Blaziken over Infernape. I mean, Infernape has a greater move pool, but Blaziken will hit harder from one spectrum. Blaziken is great mix. No, excuse me. Infernape is great mix. Blaziken is decent mix, but suffers the speed to do it. So that's why we give him a choice scarf. So not only does he get a decent amount of speed, he can outspeed a couple of things that he wasn't expected to. And he's got some very powerful moves in his arsenal. 3 out of 4 of these are base 100 or higher in terms of power. So, combined with his great attacking stat, since he's adamant, he's going to be a worthwhile addition to this team. And we'll just go ahead and go off of that. If I need to provide a attacker that hits from a variety of spectrums, I have room for it later in my team. So we'll just go back to the drawing board for now. Okay, so now that we have our duo on our team, you're going to have a couple options in terms of what you can do with the rest of your team. Now, you can branch off and you can start doing the same step, repeating steps 1 and 2 with a different portion of your team, or you can build on further with what you have and think about something that'll support these three better. In my opinion, it's easier to branch off because it's easier to build support for a duo versus a trio. So branch off, come up with a duo that goes good, and then you can put them back together later, and see if they work great as a set of 4. For this video right now, we're gonna go ahead and go with Metagross, because previous to me making this team, I hadn't really used a Metagross, and it's going back to step 1. It's a Pokemon I want to have on this team for a reason, and I'll explain why in the next segment as well. Okay, now because this team is themed, the reason I chose Metagross is because the gray and yellow go with the gray and yellow of the hair and the scarf. So there's my reason there. For your reason, you can just be like, ooh, dude, herp derp, I want to use a Breloom or whatever. Then you can go ahead and plug in a Breloom here, and then we'll just go off of the steps from that. I was thinking a little bit ahead when I put a Metagross here, and I thought, I don't really have anything that resists Dragon, and Metagross has a great base defense. He'll be able to take an Outrage, come in no problem, possibly force a switch afterwards. I know there's the possibility of a Fire Blast on a Dragon. Depending on who it's from and how much health I have, I might be able to take it depending. But I do pack the Ice Punch, I pack the Stab, I pack the Agility so I can be an Agility Metagross, and so I can take out dragons. So, bearing that in mind, what I wanted for step 1 is I wanted a Pokemon to serve a specific role on my team, both as a themed character and as just a player. So, okay, so now that we're back to step 1 and we have the Pokemon that we chose to repeat step 1, we need to think about what's going to support this pretty well. Now, thinking about it, Metagross is weak to Fire and Ground. Now, I can cover Fire pretty easily, and I can cover Ground okay with this next Pokemon that I chose, which actually happens to be a bulky Vaporeon. And we're just going to go ahead and jump right into why I chose a Vaporeon, both based on a theme and from a team perspective. Alright, from a theme perspective, I picked Vaporeon because both of these characters wear blue. And from a team perspective, I picked it because it's the perfect support I need to pass around Wish, take hits, because a bulky Vaporeon is pretty much it's almost as bulky as you get when you talk about stall and things on the defensive side. I pack HP Electric on it for Gyarados. That way, if a Gyarados wants to set up, I can render its stab move useless because I have Water Absorb, and I can take it out with HP Electric or force a switch or whatever I need to. Plus, with Wish and Protect, I'm guaranteed that added survivability, and I can pass the wishes to other things on my team if I need to and get the chance to. So, this is a pretty solid addition. We'll just go back to the drawing board for now. Alright, so looking at your paper or whatever you happen to be recording your thing on, I realize you're not going to have a team put together in 8 minutes. This is literally just I already have this stuff pre-sketched out, and then there's a lot of thought process that goes in there, so this is very accelerated in terms of how the process actually goes. But going back to it, you have your first group that we made back in steps 1 and 2, and then we have the group that we just made when we repeated steps 1 and 2. Now, you're going to want to put them together at this point and decide for step 4, do they click? Is there synergy? Is there anything big I really need to address on my team? You need to start thinking about counters, and you need to think about things that you have trouble hitting. So, thinking about it, we have 2 fire weaknesses in the form of Shaymin and Metagross, but we cover those with Blaziken and Vaporeon. We have 2 ground weaknesses in the form of Blaziken and Metagross, but Shaymin can take those pretty damn well. Vaporeon takes them okay, even though it's neutral. So we'll just go on to something else. The thing I want to address right now is priority, because I can't have a Ninjask setting up on me. I can't have Choice Scarfers coming in and ruining my parade in general. So it's for this reason that we're going to go ahead and add a Scizor, and I will go ahead and explain why in the next segment. Alright, now you're probably wondering, hey, why did you add Scizor? You already have 2 weak to fire, and you're adding a third, and you already have a Steel type. Well, it's pretty much just because of priority, to be completely honest. Scizor boasts one of, if not the strongest priorities in the game in terms of 4th gen. 5th gen, the really only thing that rivals it, I think, is Technician Braylon with Mach Punch, but that's a different story entirely. We have Bullet Punch and Swords Dance, and we have Roost for the added survivability, which I may or may not swap out for Bug Bite. I've had a couple of situations where I need the bug coverage on my team and I don't have it, so I'm considering swapping that out. It's a little bit of a bulkier Scizor, since I need to think a little bit more defensively, since nothing really has HP invested on my team. So Scizor is going to be a nice addition here, but the thing that's really just a code red in my head at this point is the fire weakness that I've just added, which brings me up to 3. So Zapdos and Infernape immediately come to mind in terms of immediate checks to my team. So we're going to go ahead and address that with our next Pokemon as well. Alright, so right now you're going to notice that on my screen I pretty much have a team -1. And I need to start thinking about immediate counters that I would have to my team, or things that I would have trouble dealing with, things that could steamroll me, things that are generally just going to make me go, ugh, when I see them, because I don't have anything to hit them, or because they have the potential to take me out. Now, thinking about it, the 3 that come to mind immediately are Zapdos, Infernape, and Machamp. Infernape being a very speedy fire type that can and will take out a lot of my Pokemon, because it gets a great amount of coverage with Close Combat and Thunder Punch, and, you know, it's just a big threat in general. Barring Scarf Heatran, it's one of the fastest fires in the game. Zapdos gets a great coverage too. It's got T-Bolt, it's got Heat Wave, and those two in themselves will take out a hefty portion of my team. And then we have Machamp, who is just a very bulky thing that I don't have anything to hit it with super effective. So I'm going to need something that covers all 3 of these. And I realize there are other weaknesses, but the ones that come to mind immediately, and you can write them down if you need to on a paper, that kind of helps me. And then just pick a Pokemon from there, a last one. This will be kind of your trump card, I guess. And you fill as much as you can. You address as much as you can with this last Pokemon and what it can do. Or you can bring an extra portion of support to your table that will help ease the switches into potential counters for these things a little bit easier. In this case, I'm going to go on more of the offensive route and just put an all-around great Pokemon here with great coverage. I'm going to slap on a Starmie, so why not? And we'll just talk about Starmie a little bit in the next segment. Alright, so what we got going with Starmie here is we have the Life Orb set, and we have great coverage in the form of Bolt Beaming. We have Psychic to take care of Machamp, and we also have Hydro Pump, which are both stab moves on Starmie, and they're both going to hit fairly hard. Now, I know on bulky Machamp, Psychic is not going to be a one-hit KO, but it will deal a great amount of damage, and I rarely ever see Machamp carry Rest, so I can bring it into at least a tolerable range. Same goes with Zapdos, because I can just go ahead and go with the Ice Beam, and that'll bring it down pretty low. It'll rarely ever be a one-hit KO if it doesn't have any HP invested. But the other 2 moves are pretty much there for filler and coverage. It's pretty much just the ace in the hole. If I need to cover anything, then I immediately can. It's fast and it hits hard. It walls Infernape completely. It's faster than Zapdos, assuming it doesn't have an Agility or a Choice Scarf. And it's just a last thing. It's a cherry on a sundae. It's a great thing to have there. So we'll go back to the drawing board right now, and we'll just sum it up and conclude this video. And there you have it. We have our lineup of 6, as we've already discussed. It has a couple of solid counters. It gets a decent amount of coverage. There's a couple things you can't really deal with, but every team has their flaw. So it's not a bad team. It's not a superior team, but it's a team I put some thought into, and, you know, I had fun with it. And hopefully by me going through the process of how I made this, you're able to, you know, relate it to yourself as well. It kind of seemed like a team analysis in itself, but at least you can get a taste of what I think about when I go through a team, and hopefully you can, you know, put it towards your own endeavors as well when you're making a team. Possibly themed too, so we'll see. Anyways, that's going to be it for today, Nintendo Buzz. I had a lot of fun making this video. Sorry if it doesn't exactly fill out the exact purpose that I intended it to, but hopefully you're once again able to put it into relevance into what you're doing. So make sure you go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, do your thing, and I will see you guys later. Peace.